Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Yard Show. Tonight we have Mr. Michael Pierce, and we're going to talk about video games.
Sounds good.
So, Mike, for the people that don't know who you are, why don't you let them know and what you've been up to, or how long you've been
Sure.
selling and all that?
Yep. So my name is Michael Pierce. I'm a YouTuber as well. I do all kinds of kind of online selling help videos, and I just kind of document my progress selling on Amazon FBA and eBay. And I would say I sell probably between 75% and 80% of my sales are video games. And, Chris asked me to come on and talk about video games, so I figured I'd help you guys out, talk a little bit about my process. And I guess the way I deal with them is pretty unique, so it's always interesting to get people's take on it. I deal with bulk mostly and kind of piece stuff out. So
Well, we
there.
can start with Mr. Kuto's question before I start doing my own.
Sure.
Well, I figured, hey, sports good, games good at all.
Yeah, and I thought this was actually a good question. That's why I put it up there. Because typically the answer you'll get from everyone is no sports games are good. But that's actually not true. There's a couple sports games you can keep an eye out for that are really good. And specifically, they're for the Sega Genesis, and they're called Mutant League. And so the names would be like Mutant League Hockey or Mutant League Football. And these games are worth a ton of money, like a ton. I sold the cartridge only for Mutant League Hockey once for like $70-something. So if you ever see Mutant League games, pick them up. They're worth a ton of money. Aside from that, sports games come out every single year. They're mass produced, and you're not going to find any that are newer that are worth your time usually.
Okay. My first question for you is, how long have you actually been reselling? Because you said, yeah, I know you work nights on the weekends.
Yeah, I work. So I'll talk about that real quick, and then I'll cover the other part of the question. I work at the coroner's office on the weekend, but the coroner's office is closed on the weekend. So basically, I'm there babysitting the building, making sure there's not a fire. And I actually spend all weekend listing and working online and stuff. So I get paid hourly to work online. That's the only reason I ever accepted the job. The only issue is it's kind of far away, and I work a weird shift. So I work from now midnight to 8 a.m., but I used to work midnight to noon. And so then I would come home and be really tired. But I've been selling since like right around 2008 is when I first started selling. It was really part-time. And actually when I started, I was selling pocket knives. And then I sold pocket knives for like a year, and I was actually doing decent. And I realized there's some liability issues with shipping knives all over the world. And, I didn't want to be responsible for someone getting injured or not using a knife properly. And that's when I decided I need to switch over my niche, I guess. And it really just kind of fell hand in hand with something that happened. My dad was a video game collector, and he gave me a bunch of games he didn't want. And I started reselling them, and I realized a bunch of those games were worth a lot more money than we paid for them in the stores. So that's just kind of how I got started selling games. I've been selling since then. I've been full time now for a year and a couple weeks now.
Huh. We have a follow-up question. Kuto said he thinks he was talking about the NCAA 2K3 type of games.
Yeah, any of that kind of stuff is typically not worth a lot of money. I'm sure there's a few exceptions, but I don't know them off the top of my head, and I never pick up sports games. Like, I will pass on a giant stack of them every time.
And Henry, the title is Mutant Baseball or
Mutant
Football.
League.
Mutant League.
Yeah, so it's actually they're really awesome games. I've played them. Like when I had the cartridge for Mutant League Hockey, I played it. They're so fun. They're really awesome games. They're like you're these giant mutants, and like you can kill each other and break holes in the ground and cheat, and they're just really wild arcade style games. No worth real big money.
What's the is that for Nintendo 64 or
No, Sega Genesis.
any other good games that for Sega that they should be on the lookout for that you won't be competing against?
I mean, there's always a ton of like popular games you can look for. The thing is on Sega Genesis, like if you're looking straight profit margin or if you're looking for something that'll sell fast, like any of the popular titles will sell. Vector Man, Sonic, Rocket Knight, I think that's what's called, Rocket Knight. Any of those type of games, they sell really fast. I'm trying to think of like rare, more obscure titles off the top of my head. I'm drawing a blank right now, but I think in general you want to look for, because here's another issue I run into. Sports games are being mass produced back then. Like you'll do well on most Sega Genesis games if they're complete or if they have parts with them. You will not do well on the sports games that are mass produced back then. And you'll know they have the stupid blank white label and they'll say, football or baseball, and just don't pick up sports games at all, really, unless they're rare ones. Any of the major titles from Sega Genesis do well. I mean, say I buy a lot of Sega Genesis games. I pick out any damaged games, pick out any sports games. Almost all of them would get sent to FBA for me. And that's something I guess we should discuss is like selling on eBay versus FBA. There's a huge difference here. I sell almost exclusively on Amazon FBA now, and I used to be all eBay. There's a huge price gap between selling games on eBay and versus selling them on Amazon, and we'll talk about that when you show the games you had. And the thing is, like, you can charge a premium price over on Amazon for video games. That's the reason I sell over there. Like, I could never get, $15 for a Sonic game complete over on eBay, but you can easily get it on Amazon because of the 2-day shipping. I don't know why people are like that, but they will pay a much higher price over on Amazon often.
I'm seeing a couple more questions from the viewers. We got one. Steven Scroggins asks, how does Atari sell now a day?
Pretty terribly. I would not mess around with Atari, ColecoVision. Most of those consoles are not good at all. A couple exceptions to those older consoles would be the Odyssey. I've sold, I want to say the Odyssey 2. It's hard. This is a little hard for me because I'm actually pretty young and I wasn't around when these came out. I want to say it's the Odyssey 2. I sold one for like over $100 the console. But most of those games are not worth a lot of money. Atari, I stay away from completely unless I get it for like dirt cheap. ColecoVision's the same exact way. A lot of the plug and plays for those are the same way. Just stay away from them.
Chad said he picked up a PS3 Slim and the 250 gigabytes today, and it had a flashing red light error. Have you ever fixed the issue?
I haven't, because I deal almost exclusively with retro, but I've seen it before. And for PS3, I actually don't know what the error means. I know the Xbox has a red light errors too. But if you Google it and you Google the pattern, you can find a fix really quickly. A lot of times it's really stupid things people don't realize there's error codes for. Like the Xbox 360 was known for the red ring of death, right? But there's actually a lot of blinking sequences that just mean your visual cord's loose or the power cord's loose or you need to clean this. Like, so you have to know what the codes mean. I don't know if the PlayStation 3 is the same way. I haven't sold a PlayStation 3 in a couple of years. I don't deal with new games at all.
Well, cause I know, and I don't know if I can help you, Chad, but I also have a PS3, and I'm not selling it at all. I actually have two of them, but the one I got from my daughter got it for me for a Christmas present. I went for I turned it on and it was automatically turned right back off and blinked the red light, or blink and blink and blink until I turn it back on, and then it works. It seemed to work fine. So I don't know if that's your issue or.
Yeah, it's hard to say with the newer consoles. PlayStation 3 has a lot less hardware failure than Xbox, so it's actually pretty uncommon compared to Xbox. But I'm not gonna be able to give much advice on it. I'm fine with saying I don't know something because I would rather tell you I don't know it than give bad advice. I don't know much about new games. I really stick to older games on a consistent basis.
And Snowbird Picker asks about what about Green Dog, the beach surfer dude?
Oh, the beach surfer dude. I've seen it a bunch of times. It's not worth a significant amount. It's just kind of one of those games. It's popular, but I don't think you're going to get a bunch of money for it. It's hard to. I try to explain this to people. It's hard to explain my system because it's so unique. But let me see if I have games around that I could show you. Like, Now these aren't going to be good examples because none of them are worth a significant amount of money, but I don't sit there and remember, like I will remember some game names, but I'm not good with like remembering words and lists and stuff. Instead, if I find rare games or expensive games, I will just look at them, and this is seriously my system. I do this every time I find an expensive game or a rare game. This is how I learn from it. I'll just like start memorizing what the label looks like, right? I'll just pick games and I'm like, okay, that's a rare game. Here's the name, but this is what the label looks like. And the reason I do that is because when I'm flipping through bins of games, like say I'm at the garage sale or flea market, right? You're flipping through bins of games. I don't research games. I want to be able to grab games I want right away. So I'm flipping through them. The most prominent thing on any video game is the label. It's just like you can flip through and look at the label quickly. If you can memorize something about the label to correlate it, you can grab things quickly. And that's like the system I've created for when I'm looking at local places. And that's what I'm pretty good at doing. Now, online, I do the same kind of thing because I do a lot of sniping to source. But obviously, you have the internet there as a resource always. But I'm really good at spotting obscure accessories and stuff that people don't know a lot about. I wish I hadn't sent out my FBA shipment last week so I could show you guys. But I have a bunch of rare accessories I sent in, like wireless controllers that are retro. I have this Logitech controller I sold for $70 before. I just got to send another one in. Like, there's all these accessories that I've learned over the years, and I'm just able to recognize them quickly in lots when I'm sniping, and then I make a ton of money off them every time. And people pass them up constantly. I'm a visual learner. Like, that's what I'm good at, and that's just the system I created for myself. But if you're better at remembering the name of each game, good luck, because I'm not. There's way too many game names and way too much writing to remember for me.
Yeah, one of the tips that Brock gave last week, he brought up video games. You know, we were talking about picking with kids, so we were talking about his kid helping him with the video games. Is that what at least the PS or most of the games, they have black tops, and then they have like greatest hits or platinum hits that are different colored, so you know that the black ones are the rarer of the two.
And those are called black label games. So a black label game is a first release of the game, and you want to use that keyword if you have the first release. So like a lot of times, even on PlayStation 2 games, there's black label versus greatest hits. For Nintendo, there's Nintendo's Choice versus the normal one. You use the term black label every time it's like the first run of the game, even if it's not technically a black label. It's the collector's gamers term that people use for a first time release of a game. So black label is the keyword you want to use every time for those. And I seen Berta put in here, and she said Mario games ? And of course Mario games will do well, but there's not Mario games on Sega Genesis, which we were talking about. Mario's a Nintendo brand. And instead of saying Mario games, let's say Nintendo games. Like if you're starting selling video games and you want something to focus on that you can make money on, look at, and I'm not saying Nintendo the console, Nintendo the brand. Nintendo is really good at creating brand value, and what they've done is they've limited the market on their games so the value stays high. So like if you pick a random Nintendo console, let's say Nintendo 64, any of those brand games you find, you know, Donkey Kong, Mario, any of the popular titles made by Nintendo, you're going to make a lot of money off of. If you even look at normal Game Boy, the Nintendo Game Boy, you're going to make a lot of money off the console. You're going to make a lot of money off any of the Mario games, any of the Donkey Kong games, any of that style stuff. I think one of the common mistakes that like new people getting into video games make is they try to sell every type of video game. You're not going to be able to sell every type of video game. There's 20 plus years of video games that released and 20 plus years of shitty video games released that people don't want because they're mass produced for money. So you have to know what to pick out. If you're going to start, pick a couple consoles you want to keep an eye out for and learn about them slowly, and then research all the other stuff. Make sure you do research. And I'm not opposed to research. I've just tried to create a system where I don't have to do a lot of it, so I have an advantage. But do your research and learn from each time, and make sure you're not making bad buys and making mistakes. And if you do, make sure you memorize in your head, okay, that was a bad buy. I don't want to buy this game next time.
We have a question here from Thrift Daddy. He wants to know, do you sell much TurboGrafx 16 games?
I will say no, I don't. I've come across a couple games, and I can't even think of the names of them ever. And I probably had to research them because it's not a super prominent console. I'm pretty sure the sales on it weren't great because I never come across the games.
Okay, I don't know if you can answer this question from Chad. He's asking, what is the deal with expensive console cables?
Expensive. Can he say what console he's referring to? It is from Chad.
Yeah.
Chad, what console are you referring to, bud? Like, are you talking about PS3, newer consoles? And when you say expensive, what is the price range you're talking about? Because expensive to me versus you might be different for like game cables.
And while he's answering that question for you, he has another one up above that asking, is there a way to tell when something comes out whether it will end up being a collector's item? Not besides the fact that Mario or Donkey, like the normal names, is there something else that tells you out if something's a collectible right away?
Well, it's hard to say. I want to say most newer games that come out are never going to be collectibles like the older ones. And I wish I had examples with me, but there's no way for me to have an example. But like newer games are just like this, right? Like it'll be the game comes out, it's in a case, it has its own little compartments for everything. It has a book and a disc. Older games had like this cardboard box that was beautiful, had artwork on it. It was full of inserts and advertisements made by the company. It had this cartridge with nice art on it, and so it was made to be a collectible, right? Like the box could easily be destroyed, and kids destroyed them all the time, so they became scarce. And then the booklets were easy to rip, so they got destroyed all the time, and they became scarce. That's what made it a collectible, aside from the fact the game was good. With this, a kid can't destroy this plastic case, and even if they could, guess what? There's 10 million more of them sitting around somewhere you can replace it with. The booklets are designed so they don't really break that much, and if anything, they're the scarcest part of the newer games, and discs are nothing like the cartridges were. So I would say not very many newer games that come out are ever going to be collectibles like what we see today. It'll be a different type of collectible, and there's no way to tell because I'm selling games that are 20 years old. So is there any way for me to tell 20 years in the future what's going to be collectible? Probably not. If I had any guess, I would say it's definitely a game that's popular, but not necessarily mass produced. And for whatever reason, this game's coming to my mind, Ni no Kuni, which is like it's a PlayStation 3 game, I believe. And it was much like Pokemon, but it was a very obscure kind of game that I knew a lot of people loved, yet it wasn't mass marketed or anything. I don't know a lot of people that know of the game or played it or anything.
Chad answered the question. He said he thinks it was for a Wii, and it was going for like $150.
The Wii, and it was going for $150
on a cable.
Like it actually sold for 100. I don't know. I would have to see it to let you know. I don't know if there's an alternate cable for the Wii that's like really rare or something. I know on the GameCube, there's an alternate component cable setup that you can get that's really expensive, or it has like I'm trying to think. Oh yeah, it has the HD components on it, I believe, and it was selling for a ton of money. For the Wii, I have no idea. Like I said, I deal with the games some, but I don't deal with new consoles that much. I've sold a few Wiis, but they're always complete in the box, or there's something special about them. I don't just like go looking for Wiis all the time.
Berta, before I go into showing you my games that I was asking about earlier,
yeah,
you know about for like a yard sales, people have their games out in the sun. Isn't that bad for them?
yeah, that is bad for them. Mainly, there's a few reasons it's bad for them. For the cartridge itself, for anything plastic, Nintendo systems, earlier Nintendo systems, SNES, Super Nintendo, the NES, the Nintendo Entertainment System, those kind of things have this plastic that's quite brittle. And the more it sits in the sun, the more it becomes brittle. It can cause discoloration. Also, that plastic tends to naturally discolor into a yellowish color. And I actually have one of those, so I can grab that for you and show you. But it'll make those brittle. And for cartridges, it can do the same. It will also create a massive amount of label wear and box wear, and it'll really hurt the value of it as a collector's item.
We have another question from, let's see. No, that's not the one. Texas Scout Treasure just wants to know, what if somebody doesn't have the console to test the game? What do they do then?
It's your discretion at this point. And I talk about this a lot because I don't store consoles to test games. That's not how I have my operation, because I don't have an area set up to put 20, 30 consoles. I save games until I get the console in, unless I feel there's a little risk with selling them. And usually that's only with disc games. With disc games, you can look at them and say they're not damaged, they're likely to play. But understand, if you do that, you're accepting the risk that it may not work. There are obscurities where disc games don't work even though they're mint condition. So it can happen. As far as cartridges, I wouldn't sell them without testing them, because cartridges are unpredictable. They might have corrosion you don't know about. Someone could have switched the board. Pins could be damaged. There's a lot of variables there. So I put them aside until I get a console in. And I would say I get 90% of the consoles I need in within the next month. Usually, I don't let games sit around a lot. I get a lot of consoles in and out. I mean, a good example would be last week I sent 350 units to Amazon. This week, not even this week, tonight after the show, after we're done with everything, I'll be packing up units. This will be like a 200 unit shipment. A lot of this isn't games, but I have some games and accessories here. And I have a whole wall full of stuff coming in next week. Like, it just continues. It's just a constant stream of merchandise in and out.
We have, I don't know if I missed another question, but OG Picker says he has a complete Wii system with board and all controllers. Worth anything?
Yeah, if it's actually in the box, like the system's in the box, it's worth a lot of money. I sold a complete Wii a couple of months ago for, and mind you, I didn't have the board, so yours is probably worth more. I sold it for 135, maybe, complete in the box, and with the board, I would say you're looking at that range if you're selling to Amazon. The thing is, I don't know all the Wii bundles, so I would have to look at the bundle specifically. But yeah, I would say it's worth a good amount of money. Just know that it takes up a good amount of storage at FBA if you're willing to send it in.
All right. Well, before I get to Barn Junkie's question, I'm trying to catch everybody's as I'm going. I'm actually missing some comments below, so.
Yeah, if we miss your question, repost it. Like, you don't have to spam, but if it takes a minute, we don't get to it, just repost it at the bottom. We'll try to get it. We're only 2 men.
I did show Michael these games beforehand, and he actually told me 2 of the 3 that I had might actually be worth a little bit on Amazon. But the first one I showed him was a PlayStation 2 Aliens versus Predator PS game, PS2. And I told him it was a little ironic. On the top, it says $35.59. No, $35.99. Sorry, in a used condition. Then somebody else down in the corner had it for $17, and I picked it up for $1 last summer.
Last summer, man, you've had that thing for a long time.
I told you I try it for myself, and if I don't like it, then I eventually.
Yeah.
So, and you looked it up for me. I told you when I looked it up the other day when I was thinking about listing them on eBay that it was going. I saw it going for 10.
Yeah. And so that's the game out of the 3 you showed me that's worth something. The other ones aren't worth much at all. They're not even notable, really. Like I said, you could buy them on Amazon for $10 new. But that game, this is why I want to talk about price differential between eBay and Amazon. He said it's selling for like $10 on eBay, right? The cheapest copy of it on Amazon is at $15, and he has the black label version. Granted, I don't know if they released another version. And it's complete, which we checked. And I would say he could probably get $20 to $25 for it. So that's over double the price if he sent it to FBA that he would have got over on eBay. Now, I don't know if it would sell. I don't know the actual rank, but the price differential is huge. That's a huge price differential when you're looking at one game. Now, think about processing 1,000 games a month. Then you're going to say, well, maybe I should go over to FBA. Like, that's my thought process versus the selling platforms.
Well, I might even just put it on Amazon as merchant fulfilled and do it as used.
And there you go. And then the bottom price is 15 something. If they have the $4 shipping credit, that's $19. So you still could get 19 instead of 10. So that was just what I was trying to explain. There's a differential there.
And the other 2 that he said is not worth anything. I got Freaky Flyers. I picked it up because it kind of reminded me of Mario Kart type of games, and I figured they're in airplanes or shooting at each other. Let's see what it's like. I didn't care for it. So, and another one that he has never even heard of called Prism, Pryzm. Chapter 1, The Dark Unicorn.
Yeah, that was one that I've never seen either. And it's spelled ridiculous.
So, and those two are also, from what I saw, going for $10 on eBay. But I could have been just getting lucky that day.
Yeah.
So,
there's a question here I want to cover. It's a really good question, and I get it every show I do about video games. Barn Junkie said, what's the best way to clean games? My brother used to blow in them and use alcohol and a Q-tip. Alcohol is good. Q-tips not so much if they're the fluffy ones. If you can get the more compacted ones that won't leave fibers, they're awesome. You want to look for like a 90% alcohol. I know Joe is in chat. He's the one that gave me the advice on it before. Joe, if you're around and you want to post the exact name of the alcohol that you suggested for electronics, feel free. It's like 90%. I'm assuming ethanol. He knows specifically what it is. A higher percentage alcohol evaporates quickly. The goal is to have a liquid that cleans, but also gets out of the circuits quickly. You don't want them sitting around and corroding. So high percent is good.
Okay, let's see. I'm gonna see. Yeah, that was the one I was gonna do next. So I'm trying to see if there's one that jumps down again.
Yeah, I hate that it jumps. That's what always gets me, and I fall way behind. Yeah, and we are. I think the next question is Pat. If you had to pick a brand name of games like Nintendo or whatever, what would it be? Like if I had to pick my own brand name, or if I had to pick one that I like. If I had to make my own brand name, I don't know. I'd probably do a lot of market research and figure out a name. I'm not the kind of person that would just pick a random name.
I think she might be talking about like what brand, like Nintendo, PlayStation, what might be the better overall.
Yeah, but I mean, it's like I said, Nintendo's definitely the brand of systems and games that holds the best value because they purposely create artificial scarcity. Like, say they know there's a huge demand for a game, they will often release less than there is demand, and then they'll later release like a collector's version or whatever. But the original version holds so much value because they do that. They know they're really smart about manipulating scarcity to create value. It's really Nintendo knows what they're doing. They've been in business for over 100 years. It's not like they're not like many other companies for sure. They're really not.
Snowbird Picker wanted to know, what about the handheld games, like the old Star Trek ones? Are those worth selling?
I'm sorry, I missed the question. It's about handheld games?
Yeah, like old Star Trek.
I don't know much about, like, I think most of them are Tiger handhelds. I got some in recently, but I had to look them up and search them. They're not very popular, I would say, in the sense that I run across them at yard sales and stuff ever. But some of them are worth big money, especially if you find them sealed. I found 3 Star Trek ones sealed for $10 once, and each of them are worth $20 to $40 brand new. There's a little bit of damage to the plastic. The thing is, you want to look for popular titles and then research them. There are a couple I know are worth good money. Like if you find any of the Sonic ones or any of there's a very, very old like Game & Watch games. If you find any of those, the old Game & Watch Donkey Kong is worth a lot of money. But I mean, these are very obscure finds. They're not something you're going to run across all the time. And I've seen a question from Cool Toads. He asked about my background. He said, I see your background. Do you go to Comic-Con? I haven't been there, but I'm really working on just making a habit of going to a lot of different conventions each year. I want to start going to gaming conventions. At the end of the day, I run this as a business. It's a business expense for me to do that. I really should go network, see the different cons, the different conventions, enjoy them. I like video game culture, so there's no reason for me not to go. The background itself is kind of interesting, has an interesting story because it started with posters first. The posters were stuff I couldn't sell last Christmas, and I just had them in a bin, and I paid like $1 each for them or something. So I was like, I'm taking these extra posters and doing something with them. So I made a background for the videos. And slowly I started adding stuff. And then I bought a LeBron James jersey from a viewer. Then I had a piece of LeBron artwork that I had because I'm a Clevelander, I'm a Cavs fan. And I had the Minecraft Steve helmet that I had. I added it. Then I got a gift from a community I'm part of, from Binding of Isaac. And then a viewer sent me a Gyarados Pokemon card because they asked what my favorite Pokemon was. I said Gyarados. And then a viewer sent me a sword because they know I like Final Fantasy. So now it's just become like this collaboration of tons of different stuff.
There's a question from Berta Bell. She wants to know, is there anything we can see visibly that you would advise us to steer away from buying?
Yeah, I'm going to grab that Nintendo and let me look. I'll try and grab examples here. I'm the worst with examples because it's just always like a bunch of different stuff in, but I'll try and find some stuff for you. Give me 1 second.
Well, I'm going to see if I can copy some of these questions. And thank you for all 30 plus viewers. I'm trying to catch these questions as best as I can. I hope you're getting a lot of information that you needed. And let's see. All right, Mike. Yeah. All right, Mike. We could get here with a couple more questions. You already talked about your background. Snowbird wanted to know, is that the background in your warehouse or is that your house?
Yeah, this is at my house. My office is at my house. It's not anything elaborate. I don't have a warehouse. I'm actually moving soon, but that's actually one of the most heartbreaking things is I'm pretty sure I have to rip a bunch of those posters to get them down. So I'm going to have to redo my whole background at the new place. And for those asking, like my background is in like my personal history, information about me. On my channel, I document everything in like a very upfront and honest manner. Like I just tell you about myself, my story, all that stuff. So you can go, if you want to learn about me or whatever, you can go over there and check it out. I'm very straightforward. I don't hide anything. It's just, it is what it is. So I want to talk about things to look out for if you're buying and some examples. So I was telling you that Nintendo's yellow, right? And so this is one that has started to yellow. It's not significant, and I don't know how the lighting is in the camera, but I can show you one that hasn't yellowed so you can compare the two. This one on the right has not started yellowing, so you can see the color differential. And the funny part about these two is if I was at a yard sale, the one that's the white color that looks good is actually worth a little bit less money, and I want to show you why. This is something you need to look out for on these consoles. The way these consoles are put together, there's two layers. There's a top layer and a bottom layer, and there's a lot of stress in between the layers. And because of this, there's a crack right here in the corner. I don't know if you guys can see it in the camera. And then like on the back here, there's a chip. And then on the other corner, there's another chip. And so you get these chips and cracks in the corners, and they hurt the value pretty bad. A lot of people don't like those. They're not on this one, they're not significant, but they can get pretty significant. So you want to keep an eye out for those. Obviously, if you're shopping, keep an eye out for yellowing. And then this is very common for new people to pass up. Don't pass this up. This will cost you a lot of money. In any battery chamber for any electronic, you have these little prongs. And I don't know if you guys can see here, but it's all corroded in here. And that corrosion can completely make the entire thing not work. If it started to travel through the circuits, it can really damage it. You know, I've had Chad personally help me with figuring out if I could fix this, you know, in the past. In this case, the corrosion is not bad. I can probably clean that out and be fine. There are cases where it's detrimental to the electronics. So always, always, no matter what, check the battery compartment on every electronic. Hopefully that helped a little bit. I'm sorry I don't have like hundreds of examples, but I mean, and then there's writing, there's stickers, you know, there's the common stuff that you're always going to look for. And see if we can get caught up here. Probably never going to get caught up.
Up a little bit, so that's, every once in a while you cut out, so I was like, I don't know if you're still talking or not. So it's like,
no, you're good.
We did have a question from Brick Daddy. He wanted to know, top 5 NES games you always love to resell.
Top 5 NES games. Okay, let me think. That I love to resell. I mean, I'm a pretty simple guy. I like straightforward games. So I would always just go like typical Mario games, Donkey Kong. Fax Anadu is a good one to look out for. That's an RPG game. Honestly, I don't deal with a lot of NES because the value is not there. Whereas like GameCube, Super Nintendo, N64 have a much higher value. Even Game Boy has a high value. NES, there's some rare NES games like I've seen before, but I'm not good with like the title off the top of my head, and I don't find them a lot. Honestly, I don't think I've ever personally like found without looking on the internet an NES game worth over $20. I don't think I've sent in 50 NES games to FBA this year. I definitely would. I stick to N64 and GameCube over that stuff for sure. Or even I sent in a lot of Wii games this year, and I made a ton of money on Wii games. So
Okay. We have more of a personal question from Snowbird. He wanted to know, would you meet up with some other resellers if they were nearby you?
Potentially, I get this question a lot. It depends more on the circumstances, what the goal is there. You know, I'm very busy, and I don't mean that in like a, excuse kind of way. I'm really busy. So for me to like meet up with people, I would rather it be like a group of us meet up. We accomplish something together. We're trying to figure something out. We're all going thrifting or yard selling or something. You learn from me one-on-one. I would rather that than like, oh, I just want to meet up with you personally, because I get that request a lot, which is awesome and I appreciate it, but it's not really viable. If I just met up with people that want to meet up with me one-on-one all the time, I would never be home selling stuff. Like I've honestly got the request, and I don't even mean this in a ridiculous way. I've gotten that request in the last 2 months, probably at least 10 times. Like emails and messages and comments. There's a lot of Clevelanders that watch, which is awesome, and I appreciate it. But like, it's time consuming to go meet up with someone and just talk about specifically what they want to talk about or whatever.
Sean Kuto is saying NES Stadium events equals Holy Grail.
Yeah, like the certain model of it, I'm pretty sure is Holy Grail. Or there's another Holy Grail game is from the Nintendo World Championships cartridge. I think there's only like 8 of them. But there's a lot of terrible NES games. Like there's a whole. This always cracks me up. If for any of you gamers out there that watch the Angry Video Game Nerd, right, James Rolfe, he started an entire series and became internet famous because he started dogging on all these terrible NES games that came out. And like, that's how his whole thing started. He's one of the biggest, most followed gamers of all time now, and he just tears games apart. But like, there's so many bad NES games like Fester's Quest and all those games. They're terrible. And there's a ton of games on the console like that. So there's a lot of games that don't hold great value anymore.
And what about, like, okay, can you fix a Nintendo 64 cartridges? Because I have a Nintendo, I don't have the Nintendo machine, but I have the.
Uh-oh, you froze for me.
One part has to either be pushed together or something so it can fit in the machine.
You have to repeat the question for me, bud. The screen froze. I'm sorry.
I have the Nintendo 64 cartridge. I was wondering any way of fixing it, because I know like one corner of it needs to be either squeezed.
My Hangout keeps freezing. My Hangout froze twice now. I feel terrible. It just keeps freezing right when you're talking. You have a Nintendo 64 cartridge, and the side needs to be squared?
Squeezed or something, because it's like, it looks like it's coming apart on one corner. It's the Super Mario World. That's why I got it. It was only 50 cents. I didn't notice the difference until I got home.
Yeah, all you have to do probably is you need a special bit for the back, I'm pretty sure. I think I have one here. To turn, there's like these little hexagon screws, and you have to unscrew them and realign the case and just screw it back, and it should tighten together fine unless something's damaged. It's really simple. But you can order the screwdrivers on eBay for like $3 to $5. Seriously, some Chinese supplier probably sells them in the US. They're really cheap. I have there's a lot of security bits and stuff you need. Like I need a special one for Dreamcast. I needed one for the Game Boys. And
Let's see if I can catch any questions I missed. Snowbird asks, would you sell NES Al Unser Jr. Turbo Racing Play Action Football Wheel of Fortune Street Fighter 2 Turbo Hyper
Yeah.
Fighting Jeopardy 25th Anniversary Athletic Road and Rad Racer 2?
Yeah, most of those are bad games. Obviously, you would definitely sell Street Fighter, and Rad Racer 2 is probably not terrible. The rest of those games are just completely worthless. Like, you're literally not going to get your money's. It's not worth your time, right? So, that's what I'm saying. If you go look at NES, seriously, after the show, go look at NES and look how many terrible titles there are. The Nintendo NES is considered one of the best systems ever, yet it is full of the worst games. Like, there's some horrendous games for that console.
What about regular PlayStation 1? Are there any names that people should be looking out for?
For PlayStation 1?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a ton of games that you can look out for on PlayStation 1. Lots of RPGs. Any of the classic Final Fantasy games would be fantastic. Suikoden and Parasite Eve. Basically all the RPG titles for PlayStation are fantastic. Any of those popular games at the time. I actually have, I should have opened the package. I have a box upstairs filled with RPGs from PlayStation 1. Like, seriously, it's just filled. I just got them recently from someone. And those are the kind of games that's kind of what originated Black Label, because the original copies come out on the Black Label, and then the re-release was on the Green Label.
Oh, then I got Black Label Final Fantasy 8.
Final Fantasy 8? Yeah, and so that's an example. And so if it was greatest hits, it would be green where that black area is, and it would say greatest hits. And all those type of games, the RPGs for PlayStation 1 are worth phenomenal money. I mean, I've seen some of them sell for huge bucks. I mean, even the lot I got recently, I paid over $100 for.
And how do you decide? I know you say you snipe, but how else do you get things offline for selling?
How else?
Well, when you're not doing your sniping at work, like you go to yard sales, or you got to sleep in during yard sale days when the weather was nice.
Yeah, I would say I love flea markets. They're probably my favorite to go to. I've been going to them since I was a kid, and I've built a lot of connections now. A lot of people contact me to sell stuff. I recently got all those RPGs through George, and it's just like a matter of building connections, stopping at local places. Something I need to look into more is pawn stores. A lot of people have been talking about those lately. I haven't really tried to go to them to get games. And by the way, Snowbird, if you're going to try and call someone out, yes, those are in my store, but they're complete in the box. They're not just the cartridge. So next time, you should probably actually do research instead of just posting to cause drama. I don't have anything to hide. If you want to search what I have listed or what I sell, my links are on my channel.
Chad wanted to know, what about PC games? Do they have collector value?
Not many of them. PC games are a really rough market, mainly because they have a code with them, right? And so once they're opened, at least for most modern ones, once they're open, the code is used by someone, and then you have an issue selling it. But the thing is, there are older games that are popular, but they really don't have great value anymore, mainly because of Steam. Steam was released a while ago. You can download basically any game and for dirt cheap.
And what about, since we were talking about other special games for PS1, what about regular Xbox or Xbox 360 that?
360, I won't be able to tell you much about, honestly. I don't know much about them, like I said. And the original Xbox, there's only a few games off the top of my head I can think of. You have to remember, PlayStation 1, well, actually, it would be PlayStation 2, absolutely murdered the Xbox. The Xbox was not successful compared to PlayStation. And so it was never really popular, but the one game I can think of that's worth a lot of money on Xbox, or at least it was the last time I sold it, was Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance 2. It has a big blue label. Like I said, I like to remember the labels with like an elf lady on the front. And I remember getting over $50 for that game when I sold it last. But I don't know what the market's like now. You know, these things fluctuate, and I don't know if Greatest Hits was ever released or any of that. Xbox in general, you want to watch out for. The console weighs a ton of money, like or a ton of weight, like 9 pounds or something. So you definitely don't want to pick up a bunch of Xbox consoles. You end up eating it on the shipping costs for sure.
Let's see. Shy Guy, who's from England, hi there, Shy Guy, says Xbox 360 games, the ones with easier achievements are a good selling point because what people want to get their gamer score higher.
I guess that's a good point, but I mean, all those games are mass produced, so. Yeah, Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance 2 was absolutely fantastic, and 1 was fantastic, and Champions of Norath, all those games were awesome. It was really awesome when that was like a popular genre. What do you do with games that are scratch from Chad? I lot them up. They all get auctioned off in lots. I don't resurface them. That question's come up a ton lately. Basically, I take all of those and they get put in a box throughout the week. And then at the end of the week, I'll either auction them off or put them in buy it now and just get rid of them. Any damaged games, any games with writing, if I can't get it off, any of that stuff just gets put in. I was just showing Chris before the show. I have tons of large lots listed on my store, and like I have lots of hundreds of Game Boy games here that are just getting auctioned. Or yeah, they're going to be auctioned off. They're all extras. They're stuff that I didn't consider worthy to go to FBA, and I don't have time to individually photograph them and deal with them. So.
Well, basically covered all my questions that I had in my head before we started. So I had the same questions that the viewers had, so that's why I had a feeling with that.
You should have wrote them down so you didn't miss any.
Well, I planned on it, but I got my hair cut and everything else before the show. Plus, I had to eat, so I didn't even start early enough. Like I normally do.
Video games.
Yeah, let's see. Yeah, Shy Guy, so you can get the machine, disc cleaning machines. So it's up to you, Chad. If you want to spend money to get a disc cleaning machine, you probably get more for your games. But
for me, it's just it's a huge time crunch unless you buy like the $1,000 machines that you could just automate the whole system. But you have to change pads, you have to buy a compound, you have to deal with them. It's very time consuming, and most discs aren't worth resurfacing. There's some that are probably, but I can't think of very many rare discs I've had to throw in my lots. So it's just not worth my time. There's a lot of sports games that go in there, a lot of crap that I don't want. So I would rather just not deal with them.
Before we started, you told me about your eBay store. That you had like a whole 300 and something that were about to go on auction or supposed to be.
Yeah, it's all these Game Boy games. Like, so I got this huge lot of Game Boy games from a viewer, and I picked out the ones I wanted to send to FBA, which was a good amount, but I still have like boxes full of them. There's one there. This one is the Game Boy Color games and Game Boy games. Like, these are just filled with them. There's just tons of them. And so these are going to get auctioned off. And currently I already have like 5 or 6 lots of extra games that are up there. They're on Buy It Now, but they only sit on Buy It Now for a while, and then I'll just auction them. It's just pretty straightforward. My basic system is games come in. I get them from sniping mostly. People online sell them to me a lot. I get a lot of messages every week about buying. I have a couple of local groups I'm a part of, some video game groups. And then if like flea market season and all that is done, it's cold out, it's snowed today. So throughout the winter, I'll keep sniping and all that. They come in, I pick through them right away. I do like a general pick through. If there's any sports games, any of the crap I really don't want, it gets thrown in a bin right away, out of the way. And then I'll look through the rest of them. I'll make sure the right discs are in there. I'll see if they need cleaned. I'll clean up cases, all that stuff. And I'll sit down, make sure I'm not missing anything. I don't make any mistakes. and they'll get listed on FBA. They'll go in a pile, and then once I get a big enough shipment, it all gets sent in. It's just like a continuous process. As that stuff builds up, all the extras, the sports games and that, I'll build auctions or buy it now to get rid of that, because I mean, there's a ton. I can't even, I don't sell a lot on eBay anymore, but probably a majority of my sales in the past have just been auction lots of extra games and controllers and stuff. I have like a king size basket full of video game controllers that I'm getting rid of, plus 2 boxes. Like, it's a lot of stuff.
We have a couple of questions. I'm going to combine 2 of them. Because one was for 1 year, and another one's to add 5 years. So, Snowbird and Treasured Vintage wanted to know, where do you see yourself in 1 year or to 5 years from now in selling?
I mean, I don't know. I'm not too concerned about the future. I'm just worried about what I'm doing right now and worried about getting through Christmas. Once I do, after Christmas, I'll see where I'm actually at. I'll be moving, and then I'll have to reset up my entire setup. Once I get all that set up, I'll figure out what I'm doing. I'm not big on like worrying about where I'm going to be in the future, because it's really not relevant. It's more like you need to focus on what you're doing today. Are you going to list today? Are you going to sell today? Are you going sourcing today? What did you accomplish today? That'll help you be better tomorrow. Worrying about tomorrow doesn't help you be better today.
And Steven Scrimes wanted to know, are you a gamer or just like to sell them?
I'm a gamer, but I made a strict rule: if I was going to sell video games, I'm not allowed to keep them. I do not keep video games. I will not do it. I've wanted to so bad. Recently, I had a bunch of Final Fantasy soundtracks. Really hard for me to get rid of. I love Final Fantasy. I love music, and I had to let them go because they're worth good money. And the thing is, it's hard because I actually enjoy gaming. But when I test games and stuff, I enjoy that part of it. I have a PlayStation 3 here. I had an Xbox One the day it came out, and I got rid of it because it was distracting. And I try not to play games much. I play a couple computer games, Binding of Isaac, some strategy games, RTS, that kind of stuff.
And Shy Guy wanted to know what's wrong with the games that you're trying to sell individually, and he wanted to know if you can have a link somehow. I'm sure you can get it, find it out your store on your channel to where they're being sold.
Yeah, all my links are on my store, or you can message me on Facebook after the show. I'll respond. I have a bunch of messages to get caught up on. Anyways, if you want to see what I have for sale that's not listed, I could show you. If you want to see stuff that is listed, I'll just link you to the store. Pretty straightforward. And if there's people interested in buying surplus, then you can contact me. I mean, I get a lot of extra stuff. Like, a lot of times it's just I need it out of the way. If it's not going to FBA, I don't piece it out. I just don't. It's not streamlined for my system. It doesn't help the system stay streamlined.
Okay, Shy Guy says a lot of stores that they go to that sell used N64 games seem to have loads of Grand Prix football sports, and then among that, they found Pokemon Stadium 2 and picked that up and freaked out.
Well, the Pokemon Stadium games were amazing. I remember playing those when they came out. And yeah, I mean, my game stores locally are kind of the same way. We have one really awesome game store over on Memphis Avenue in Cleveland. But aside from that, it's just kind of general titles, because who are they buying from? They're buying from customers that come in and just want to sell the extra stuff they have. Do they come across some gyms? Yeah, of course. But a lot of people had crappy games. I mean, there was a lot of crappy games around. So my stores don't have a great collection, and their prices are really high, which is what always turned me off when I was younger to going purchasing from there. And I'm surprised more game stores don't take advantage of the internet, Craigslist, all that stuff. It doesn't seem like they do.
Okay, there's another question from Snowbird. I don't know if you want to answer that, so I'll see if you can catch it yourself.
Sure.
Make your own decision on that.
Yeah, you said, how much do you net? How much net do you think you make per month, and how much does it take you to survive and pay your bills versus how much you sell? Well, I talk about my bills very openly over on my channel, and I already explained that my monthly expenses are like, honest to God, $500 a month. I'm very lucky. They'll go up a ton when I move, which I'm working on. And I mean, I make a ton more than that, a lot more than that. I don't know how to like tell you how much I net, because I don't know off the top of my head, but I will tell you that I've been working on building up. At the beginning of the year, I was doing 1,000 to 2,000 on Amazon. That was in January. It's gone up significantly. And now, just last month, I spent like probably closer over $4,000 just on sourcing for Amazon. So it's grown quite a bit. It's gone up significantly, and for not even being on Amazon a year, I feel like I'm doing fine. As far as eBay, I just sell extra stuff over there. I thrift once in a while because I enjoy it. I have some clothing and suit jackets and stuff I need to list, but I just don't enjoy listing on eBay as much as I used to. It's become more tedious than it has like enjoyable. FBA I like because I could send stuff in, it gets fulfilled. I don't have to like worry about it. And that's that. I mean, I have very low expenses. I already know that, and that puts me in a good position to be able to grow my business at a slower pace. I don't have to like stress out every week that I'm going to be able to pay my bills. Everyone's not in that situation, and I get that 100%.
Sean asked, how often does Australia, or he wonders how often does Australia buy video games?
I've sold games to Australia maybe a handful of times. Nah, probably over the years, maybe 10 times. Not that often. Once in a while. I think we talked to an Australian guy before, and they have PAL format, which is the PAL format, and so they wouldn't really buy American games because they're not compatible. They have a completely different format. I'm pretty sure. I don't know about all parts, but I'm pretty sure.
And Chad's saying I have to say game so you can take a drink. I gotta say the word game every 30 seconds.
Well, you just said it like 6 times, so now he's wasted.
Well, he started making a game.
Yeah.
Talking about games so I can drink.
What's up, Sadie? Good old Bubba. Wait, he said buddies. You didn't say Bubba's? This can't be. Or did I miss it? I had to have missed it. No, how did you not say Bubba once at all? I'm confused.
I said it earlier. I tell a couple people. So, any more questions for Michael here? We're at the hour mark, so if there's no more questions, I might just cut this short and do an extra after-hour show, if Mike doesn't mind.
Chad is trying to get everyone to get him drunk. He's like, who else wants to play? I don't have any beer. Well, if I played it, I would just get annihilated. I only have whiskey and I have rum, but
Kuto said a few years ago that Australia brought up all the games up. Most of his games went there. So
that's cool. But were they PAL format? Because that's weird to me that they're buying American games. At least when I checked with them before, they said that was PAL format, which basically means they won't function on the vice versa consoles. His cocktail IV. I can see it now.
See if there's any more questions besides personal ones that you. Snowbird, you don't need to be asked. We don't ask those type of questions on my show about how somebody survives on what they make. It's not that type of show. You want to do that? Well, I'll invite you on, and we'll ask you your question. That question. Let's see. Sean says no, they weren't, but it was a few years ago, so he doesn't know why they bought all his games.
Weird.
Is it possible they could have bought American systems so they wanted to buy American games?
Oh yeah, it's definitely possible. I'm just saying it's a lot less common, right? It's just like some Americans have Japanese consoles and might import Japanese games. Yeah, it happens, but it's not a huge.
Yeah, well, that's the only thing I was thinking. Maybe that's why how his went last year, or that when his was going.
Dustin, we covered that earlier in the show. I just store games till I get a console in, and then I'll test them all at once, ship them out. Unless it's like an obscure games, like where I really need a specific console, I don't stock consoles just to test.
And Tyler, we're talking about video games. I'm sorry you missed the first hour of the show already.
Luckily, there's a replay and you can watch it.
Okay. Mr. City's telling you he just found and sold his second Secret of Mana.
Awesome, man. That's a great game too. I used to play that a lot when I was a kid.
So, any other questions about video games for Mr. Pierce here? If not, we will close down. We're up over 40 viewers, so hopefully we can get some more questions in so we can keep this going.
That's how it always happens. You get more viewers at the end, and then everyone's all questioned out.
Or the questions come in that you already answered, so it's like you. But that's part of the business doing it live, so.
Sure is.
Is there any other? Okay, wait. I missed it. So they were talking about ColecoVision earlier in the chat.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that for resale value?
Pretty sure it's not worth a huge amount, but I don't actually know. That was one of those consoles that's out way before I was even like coherent as a child. I'm only 24, so a lot of those old consoles I don't really know much about.
Your dad and used to have all the video games. Somebody
He had games, but we didn't have like Atari 2600 Coleco and stuff. My dad started collecting like later models. Like when he gave me his collection, his oldest consoles were one of the Nintendo consoles, probably maybe an SNES and a PlayStation 1, but he had a huge collection. Like actually, if you go look at my very first video on my channel, my very first video showing the collection I inherited or whatever. It was just like part of his. He just got rid of it. He was just like, here, I don't want it. I'm like, okay. Like one of the games that made a lot of money on was the Dark Alliance 2, which I was telling you about. I remember we paid like $10 for it or something, and then that many years later, I was able to sell it for $40-some or $50. So I was like, wow, this is ridiculous. Why did this go up in value so much? And that's when I realized there's like a huge market there.
Okay, a couple of things here. Pat Henley, maybe I'll talk to Ted if he's not too drunk later and see if he'll come on the show and do about albums and records. I know that's one of his things. And Chad wanted to also ask, how much more is a sealed game than opened?
A lot more is the general breakdown. It definitely depends on the game, but you know, there was a viewer who found 20 or 30 sealed video games, and he messaged me about it because he wanted to get them appraised, which sometimes I'll do appraisals or I'll look over games and try and help people value them some. And he sent me this list and photos of 20 sealed games, and they all varied, and they were Nintendo NES games, and they all varied, but one of them was worth like over $2,000. I had never seen it. Even when I looked it up, it was really hard to find because I had never seen it before in my life. I want to say it was called Iron something, or I can't think of the name off the top of my head, but it was worth over $2,000 if it got graded. And then there was games that were worth like $100 if they're graded. But typically, you know, a lot more than not sealed. But the thing is, you have to make sure the seal is authentic, which is kind of tough to do. You have to understand the seams, the quality, and have seen it before. But I would say if you see sealed games, definitely do your research ahead, but you probably want to pick them up pretty quickly.
Say something in the chat.
Right.
Berta repeated this, so I'm gonna answer, say it for her, so it's out on the pattern. She said something about. She said if she remembers that family. Where is it now? Family Video will resurface your games for a fee. So I don't know what Family Video is, so it's probably a local store or something to her.
Yeah, I mean, someone mentioned that in my video too. We don't actually have Family Videos around here. Most of them closed down, and so someone mentioned you could go to the library, which I think is probably the best tip. Most libraries have resurfacers. Like I said, it's just not worth the time for me. Most of the games are not worth a lot. So,
Stephen Stragan asked, can't make out. Can have software on your PC? Software. I'm assuming that's what he's trying to say. Software on your PC to test games. I don't know if that's true or not.
I mean, I've heard of it before, but I think you have to have a specific drive for it, and obviously you only gonna be able to test disc games. How would you test cartridge games? I don't know. Maybe there's some kind of device for it. That'd be cool.
And Dustin Saunders wants to know, do you ever buy wholesale new games?
Yes, once in a while. There's a wholesaler in Ohio I buy from. I know the owner, pretty good terms with him. He'll contact me if he gets bulk of certain games. Like one of my better pickups of the year was they all went to FBA. I got like 110 of them. They were a Hitman game. I got them for like $1.25 a piece, maybe. It was $1 something a piece. All of them sold for between $12 and $18 each. So at least 5 to 10 times my money on most of them. And I had over 100 of them. They sold out within a month.
Mr. City wants to know, is there a super rare game that you would love to find for any system, like over $200 type?
Yeah, I would say the most common one most people look for, and it's like it's become like a tradition almost, is collectors and game sellers. They all look for that own copy of Earthbound, which is a Super Nintendo game that's considered pretty rare. It's worth a couple $100 depending on condition. It can be worth less. I would say that would probably be it because it's so well known and it's a fantastic game. I've never actually come across a copy of it like out in the open. I think I resold a copy once, but it was sniped and I just like doubled my money quickly and got rid of it.
Country girl Doreen says that she had a Atom computer that would play the ColecoVision games.
They had that would play it?
Yeah, they had an actual Atom, a computer called Atom.
I have no idea what that is.
So that's something up somebody else's alley. 700 games. Someone one day will not know what hit them if they have to get rid of them all at once.
I didn't hear what you said because it froze again.
Shy Guy says they have about 700 games. Someone one day will not know what hit them. I have to get rid of them all.
So Shy's a collector?
Yep.
That's awesome.
Or a gamer.
And you know, I've been to some people with some pretty big collections before, and it's always like fascinating to me. And I see it, and I'm like, I would love to do that, but I just couldn't tie up all that money just to have games sit there because I'm the kind of person too. I get bored with games really fast, and even when I play them on a computer, I get bored as all hell. I like this drinking game, Chad. We have to continue it.
I'm sorry, I had to block somebody. He wouldn't take my hint. So.
You gave him way more hints than most people. That's whatever.
I know. Well,
there's always haters. It's just whatever.
I know, but most people, Chad, Sean, especially Sean, when he was helping me, knows I tried being nice to a limit.
Yeah.
It was hit.
It's just typical nonsense. That's what I said.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not concerned about it.
All right. Yep. Tanya wants to be drinking with him. Okay, Chad. Game.
There goes the beer. This is going to be replaying, and people are going to be getting drunk all week.
Coco. Packaging. By the way, Picker wants to know, Gary Vee, Tim Ferriss, who else do you read, Michael?
Oh, who else do I read? I thought you were just referring to the background. The book in the middle is called The Power of Habit, and it's by Charles Duhigg, which is like not a super common name for me. I have a whole list of books I read, but I'm not the best with author names. I can grab them. I'll just show them to you.
Hey, Ronnie, thanks for showing up tonight. I know you were doing something this afternoon. Let's see. Any other questions while Mike's getting that? Oh, there's one. Joey, Chad asked that question earlier. Mike says the PC market for video games is not necessarily that good. So
Damn, Ronnie, you're late as all hell.
well, no, he was here and then he had to go because his grandkids showed up. So family comes first.
Oh, fair enough. Whoa, Ronnie, welcome back. So I was just talking about this on my channel too, Valet. Here's a 4-hour work week. Yeah, no, there is one that's the 4-hour work week. That's the orange one up there. That's Timothy Ferris, and then this is The Power of Habit, which my head's in the way of, and then Jab, 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 Right Hook. I actually really like this book, even though I know there's gonna be all the hate about Trump, and I could care less about Donald Trump. But this is his first book he ever wrote, and it's called The Art of the Deal, and it was actually really interesting book. Definitely worth the read. You can pick it up pretty cheap, although the price might have went up because he's a candidate now. This is actually a book. This is not the original I had. I don't know where it went. My dad got it for me a long time ago when I was a kid. It's called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Really cool book that explains, well, I guess I should say the author's name. It's by Robert T. Kiyosaki, so you can see that. But it explains the differences between mindset for rich families versus families that grew up poor. And I think it's really interesting, like what rich families consider assets versus what poor families consider assets. It's a really interesting book. And it's a good read. It's definitely not necessarily the most realistic view on investing and stuff, but it gives a good insight into the different thoughts. The E-Myth Revisited, pretty good one. That's by Michael Gerber. You guys can see that. This is a fantastic book. Everyone should own this. It's old as all hell. Like this is even the older copy, I think. It's the 22 Immutable Laws of Marketing. That's like just great book. I mean, you could tell it's old. Look at their picture on the back, for God's sake. That's by Al Rias and Jack Trout. And then this is just a great guide to have. I think this book might be one of the more expensive ones I have. I don't remember. It's it's like you can start your own business book or whatever, but it's done by the Entrepreneur Press, and it is the most like comprehensive step-by-step for each different aspect of business you want to learn about: funding, marketing, how to get other parties involved, contracts. Like it just has everything you could ever need to know about business, and it's a really fantastic resource. That's not one I necessarily wrote or read, but that's one that you could like flip to if you have questions. All right, now I missed a bunch of comments.
Yeah, they're talking about different things about Ronnie showing up and about the books.
All right, Joe said, Mike, with the PC market. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, we're also trying to get Chad to drink more by saying the word game, typing the word game.
Of course they are.
Yeah. Chad wants to know, I think he's having a little fun with you. Are you Amish or do you grow a beard and no mustache?
What a dick. That's kind of funny. Someone told me in a video I looked Amish. No, my mustache is just horrendous, so I cut it off. I don't like it. And it like grows over I can't stand it. I can't stand mustaches. I'm not Amish though. Although if I was Amish, I wouldn't be on the internet, right? So Joe said, with the PC market growing, do you focus on those games? Joe, I don't typically, because I would need to focus on new games, which I could probably get if I tried, but just not a big fan of dealing with wholesale on FBA.
Let's see.
Shy Guy, that's a great question. I want to cover this. He said, how much profit can you make on new games? I see people really have small returns per copy. A lot of people don't realize this. When a new title comes out, like let's say the newest Call of Duty, I could order copies of it. I actually used to be through a distributor that was partnered with Activision and all that. So you could order them at wholesale pricing. And I actually double checked it with my cousin who orders at GameStop, and he can see their pricing. But it was like they pay between $53 and $55 a copy for a game that sells for $60 for pre-orders. So they're only making total profit, like tops $5 to $8 per copy on a $50-something purchase. That's terrible margins. That's the reason GameStop has to sell millions of pre-orders to make good profit. And because of that, if you're a small guy, you definitely don't want to mess with those. You will be in trouble fast. Chad, you're being a real dick. Who is Mike Pierce?
Oh, remember, he's drinking, so. And plus, he's your friend, so. He likes to do that with friends.
Yeah, I know.
Shy Guy says game guides and Nintendo magazines are good sellers. The official Nintendo magazine has been discontinued.
Yeah, and you know what's selling really good right now is the what is it? Nintendo Rewards. They discontinued that. A lot of those are selling for a lot. I seen the statues selling for like $150, $200. Like a lot of money for those collectibles that were free basically for buying the games. And Nintendo Power is good. Any of the old posters, I have tons of Nintendo Power posters saved up and stuff. I sell those around Christmas a lot of times.
Chad's saying it was not his question. He wants you to explain who Michael Pierce is.
How does one explain that? I'm just me, dude. I've already explained as much as I can explain in videos, so I'm done explaining it.
And Mr. Sadie wants to know, what are you focusing on for Q4? Mainly video games, toys?
Not toys so much. Toys can be a big pain. A lot of people RA toys. I have no interest in RA that much. I mean, I might do it from time to time, but it's more like a hobby thing. If there's any vintage toys, rare toys, I definitely pick them up and resell them if I can. Video games is a huge focus, and I guess obscure things, like sometimes I'll do some online arbitrage of sorts. Like I'll look for things that I think might sell well and focus on those, but mostly video games. I'm doing fine with video games. I have no reason to start switching it up.
Oh, just go back to another person. No, Steven, I'm not going for a 24-hour show. I'm not Mr. Cool Toes.
24 hours? Oh, man.
Plus, I think you got to set it up a certain way with YouTube to be able to do a 24-hour live feed.
I didn't even think about that. Can you imagine the file size on 24 hours of recorded video?
Well, when they used to do, they had a couple of Toadcasts that went 8 hours.
It would have to take like a month to render that.
I don't know, so.
I can't even 24 hours. I'll be here dead on the desk.
Oh, we got about 10 more minutes, so any more questions for Michael about video games?
Last call for everyone except Chad, because he ain't going to quit drinking.
Chad said he wasn't trying to be a troll. He just wanted you to take the time to, for a couple minutes, to tell you who you are and what you're all about, like an interview question. So.
I'm just a dude who's 24 that sells online and spends his free time helping others learn about it. That's really the gist of it. I'm not anyone special. I don't claim to be. Pretty transparent, and I just like making videos and helping people out and doing this kind of stuff and working with video games, selling online. It's just become like a giant community hobby kind of thing. I really enjoy it. The videos and helping and stuff. So no one special, just a regular guy.
Sky Guy says, Amiibo are good sellers too. Skylanders, they see a lot of.
Oh, Skylanders?
Yep.
Yeah, I've sold just a couple of them. I have like a lot of them listed on eBay for like $25 or $20 or something. I don't get them in much. I've sold the game on Amazon before for like one of the games or one of the pieces. I don't remember.
Tanya Hall wants to know, I think you already covered this earlier, but you want to know if you make a full-time income at this.
Yeah, I do. And I get a lot of questions about it because then people are like, you work a weekend job, which I also explained. I work on the weekend at the coroner's office, but I work on my laptop the whole time. Basically, I get double paid. I get to work on online sales, and I get paid hourly to babysit the building because they're closed. So, yeah, I've been doing this since I was a chef until last October, quit my job, and I've been full-time since last October. I've been selling on eBay since 2008, Been selling on Amazon since 2010, although I didn't use it very much. But now I use Amazon a lot. eBay, not so much.
Shy Guy wanted to know, would you recommend full-time sellers pay to have a stall at a Comic-Con or something? They don't know how that works, but I guess you could sell a lot, get rid of a lot of old backlog.
Oh, so this is a good question, and this is what I mean. I'm pretty proactive. I know a lot of people in the community. I've contacted a lot of people to get things set up, and I have been offered a stand at Comic-Con, and the price is ridiculous. Just so you know, for a 10 by 10, I think that's what the sizes are, 10 by 10. No, maybe it's 20 by 10 stand at Comic-Con is $3,000 for the weekend. That's how much it costs. And you only get the spots that are left over after the vendors from last year already rented their spot because they get first dibs. So then you have to become a vendor at whatever spot you're given for $3,000. Hope you do well, because you have to travel, you have to pay for expenses, you have to stay at a hotel, you got to store your stuff, then you got to find parking in New York. Good luck, right? And unless you're, San Diego, I didn't even know the prices there, but I'm talking about New York because I'm on the East Coast. And it's $3,000 for the booth. Then the next year you'll have first dibs, but that's after all of the veteran and sellers. So it's a rough ride to make a good profit there. You would need to make sure you have a whole crew, you have a ton of stuff, you got things that are popular, and people are going to buy it. So I would not suggest it unless you have a lot of rare things that people are looking for at a place like Comic-Con. Big expense. Yeah, $3,000 for the booth. I promise you that's what it is. It's ridiculous.
Okay. I'm gonna say that we're starting a little bit too much drama in there, not because of normal people, but of certain other people. So I'm gonna get ready to end this and send out a live ink for our hangout, if you don't mind, Mike, for a little bit.
That's fine. I'll be here for a little while. I won't be on super late because I have to finish up an FBA shipment and stuff, but I also need to get rest. But I'll hang out for a while, answer questions if you guys want to come hang out and talk. That's fine with me.
And so everybody knows I haven't planned for tomorrow. Next week, I can't guarantee that the person's gonna be here, so we'll see what happens next week. Mama and Gil Daddy again to come on for a visit. So we'll see where next week takes us. Thanks everybody for watching, and I will talk to you all during the hangout and or later.